Can I score Warhammer 40k's most tragic chapter? I try to start every song with a little bit of research, and for the Blood Angels, there's a lot to pull from. They are not only warriors, but they are also known for nobility and artistry and are descendants of Sanguinius, one of the most respected and noble primarchs, an almost angelic figure. He represented beauty, honor, sacrifice, and heroism. But his gene seed had a flaw. The Blood Angels carry with them the hunger for blood and violence that they constantly have to keep in check. At the end of the Siege of Terra, Sanguinius confronted Horus, knowing or at least believing that the fight would kill him. But he went anyway. The traitor killed him, and that deeply wounded the Blood Angels. Now, on top of the Red Thirst, they carry the threat of the Black Rage. They could lose themselves and relive their Primarch's last moments as if they themselves were Sanguinius, believing they are fighting Horus. What stood out to me wasn't just the vampiric aspect. It was that they were holding the violent hunger back in the name of someone they lost. And for musical reference, I see a few aspects of note: vampirism, honor and nobility in war, and the tragic loss of something beautiful. Now, how do we turn that into music? For this song, I actually try to embody what it is like to lose something dear to you, and not only the sadness, but also the anger that it brings. What if you had to restrain from showing those emotions? And also, thinking back to the vampiric aspect, I imagined which instrument I would have sat down to pour those emotions into if I was living in the Victorian era. So I sat down to play the piano and feel through the instrument until something of note hits. In the beginning, it feels sad and tragic, but then listen to how grief turns into anger. Jumping off from that anger, I think an instrument that really complements both the story and the piano is the cello. To me, it feels both elegant and mournful, yet it can be aggressive too. I started playing around with it to the tune of the piano, and then I remembered something. Do you remember the song that played in the Darth Maul fight scene in Phantom Menace? If you listen to the music carefully, you'll notice that the strings are keeping the rhythm, but they don't feel stagnant. That is because instead of playing the same note over and over, John Williams introduces just enough variation to keep it interesting. And that builds this forward momentum that lets everything else in the song shine. Also, I think bringing in an organ really marries it all together by adding the Gothic aesthetic, which is all over both Warhammer cathedrals and vampiric nobility. Listen to how sad it feels at first, and then I use that technique to bring in the momentum. That idea really kicked off the song. From there, I thought about trying the same idea with the guitars and maybe introducing some percussion, not only a drum set, but also orchestral. This is where we introduce the Noble Warrior sound palette. I saw a comment on the last video that mentioned how the guitars feel like the actions of the character, and they're right. In this case, because they are taking over from the cello, the guitars feel like the battle, forward momentum, and violence breaking through restraint. I also think that the orchestral percussion feels like it adds some of that heroic weight of the Blood Angels, disciplined and moving forward. One thing that was clear to me at this point is that the angelic beauty would be represented in a choir, but it needs to be led by a single voice. Standing over all the war and tragedy, a single voice can feel fragile, and with the right notes, it can feel beautiful, tragic, and even haunting. Now the song had taken form, but there are a few moments I wanted to save for when I play the full track. I took the answer and response idea from the piano and turned it into something epic with the choir and brass. As if the choir was the pain, and in response to that, the brass represented the anger. The drums brought the militant sound, and the percussion, the feeling of a battle with honor. But what happens when the emotions overwhelm the blood angels, and then they fall to the black rage? I think an emotional peak in the song is synonymous with the cry of a guitar in a solo. Not just any solo, but something that really conveys the emotion of the story and ultimately falls to the black rage. Like the last human cry before violence takes over. So I asked my favorite guitarist, Syndrome, if he would be available, and he came up with the perfect solo. When I play the song, try to listen for the pain in the choir and brass, the angelic memory of a fallen hero, the fall to the black rage. Anyways, here's the song. Let me know what you think, and if you've gotten this far, thank you for supporting the channel.